will start.
Hello, everyone. A very warm good morning to one and all present. A very warm good morning to one and all present here. I, Mitali Kori, Assistant Professor and Center Co-Coordinator JLU for Health and Medicine Law, welcome you all to online certificate course on Health and Medicine Law, organized by the JLU Center on Health and Medicine Law. The session today is graced by the presence of respected Professor Dr. S. Surya Prakash, Vice-Chancellor Damodaram, Sanjivayya, National Law University, Visakhapatnam, respected Professor Dr. Vivek Khare, Registrar, Jagran Lake City University, respected Dr. Sandeep Rastari, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Jagran Lake City University, and respected Professor Dr. Yogendra Kumar Shrivastava, Dean Faculty of Law, Jagran Lake City University. Before I move ahead, I would like the coordinator of the center, Dr. Ipshita Bhattacharya, to brief everyone about the certificate course. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mitali. A very good morning to one and all present here. I'm extremely delighted and overwhelmed to get this opportunity to address a gathering of erudite domain experts and dear participants. On this strikingly beautiful morning, on behalf of Jagran Lake City University, I, Dr. Ipshita Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, JLU School of Law, welcomes you all to the 2 days online certificate course program. Today, we all are facing a global health crisis, and this means that many of us are staying at home and doing less in terms of social interactions and physical activities. This can surely have a negative impact on our physical and mental health. Looking into this unprecedented challenges to offer something productive to our students and professionals, Center for Health and Medicine Law under the JLU School of Law has come up with a unique endeavor in form of online certificate course on health and medicine law. The phenomenal development in the field of health and medical sciences have made it significant to create an accord between the domains of medicine and law to prevent against the malfunctions in the health and medicine sector. This course will provide a fundamental insight into law concerned with the rights and responsibilities of the healthcare providers and patients. Now, knowledge is progressive elimination of ignorance. I repeat it once again. Knowledge is progressive elimination of ignorance. With this meaning of knowledge, I would like to brief about the certificate course. The objective of this course is to give an overview of 2 domains, namely healthcare and law. It is to be appreciated that both the domains work inter se and in an augmented manner, creating synergies and not in silos. The few of the necessary components of this combination of the domains in its pragmatic and practical implementations may be construed by examining the rights and duties of the medical professionals and the consumers. Regulations governing the practice of the healthcare professionals, regulations governing the drugs, pharmaceuticals, biologics, ways, and standard procedures of treatment, research developments of new drugs and biologics, laws governing the proprietary rights, that is IPR, and the delicate balance between access to medicine treatment and IPR, etc. However, for the limited purpose of this certificate course, we shall be delving into 5 core areas, each in the form of an interdependent module, and a brief layout of the modules would exhibit as Module 1, Session 1, Day 1, Understanding the Meaning of Health and Clinical Well-Being. This session will be presided over by Dr. Veena Vaswani, Professor, Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, Director, Center for Ethics, Yenapoya University, Mangalore, India. Module 2, Session 2, Day 1, Introduction to the Fundamental Ethics of Bioethics will be presided over by Professor Dr. Robert Field, Professor of Law and Professor of Health Management and Policies, Drexel University, Philadelphia, USA. Module 3, Session 3, Day 1, a brief introduction to legislations relating to pharmaceuticals, drugs, devices, and biologics. This session will be presided over by Honorable Justice Maushmi Bhattacharya, Kolkata High Court, and our very own Dr. Ankit Singh, Assistant Professor, Jagran Lake City University. Module 4, Session 4, Day 2, the sessions of the important case laws relating to health and medicine in India will be taken by Honorable Justice Sunil Amvani, former Chief Justice, Rajasthan. Module 5, Session 5, Day 2, Rights and Duties of Medical and Paramedical Professionals and Patients. This session will be presided over by Professor B.T. Kaul, his former professor, Delhi University, and former chairperson, Delhi Judicial Academy. We are extremely grateful to have among us the array of legal luminaries and domain experts to unfold macro and micro details subjectively. Now, due to the paucity of time and abundance of knowledge, the modules had been tailor-made in such a way to accommodate illustrative pedagogy by the honorable domain experts, along with inquisitorial inquiries by the respected delegates. Since the idea is to share knowledge and best practices and to ensure progressive learning, this center in the academy would appreciate an open learning atmosphere. So I request you all to make it as interactive as feasible, with the caveat we maximize the dissipation of the delivery on the subject matter from the domain experts. Last but not the least, we wish to make the disclaimer with great humility that the certificate program and its modules are only indicative and inclusive. Fully aware of the fact that there are plethora of areas, topics, and interfaces which might fall outside the scope of this certificate program, only to be covered some other time in some other dedicated program. Thank you all for listening patiently. Stay safe, everyone. Over to you, Mitali.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope this certificate course helps our participants to get a better understanding of this booming area of law. Now, for the welcome address, moving ahead, I would like our Dean, Professor Dr. Yogendra Kumar Srivastava, to kindly say a few words, sir.
Thank you, Mitali. A very warm good morning to one and all present. I welcome you to the inaugural ceremony of the two-day certificate course on health and medicine law, organized by the JLU Faculty of Law, Center for Health and Medicine Law. During this course, participants will be exposed to various dimensions and prevailing changes relating to public health, medicine, and law regulating the same. This course is specifically designed to benefit the students of law, medicine and biotechnology, research scholars, healthcare workers, academicians, health professionals, and other stakeholders of the society. The course is aimed at providing a fundamental insight into the issues relating rights and responsibilities of healthcare professionals, workers, and patients. It is a profound honor for me to welcome a renowned name in the field of academia and legal education, and my guru, mentor, Professor Dr. S. Surya Prakash, sir, Vice-Chancellor, DSNLU, Visakhapatnam. I consider myself fortunate that I got an opportunity to work with Professor Surya Prakash, sir, at NLIU Bhopal. Together, we organize number of academic programs of national as well as international repute, and under his guidance, I learned many things. Professor Surya Prakash has played a crucial role in my professional growth, and sir, today it is our pleasure to host you as a chief guest of this very pertinent certificate course. Considering the current challenging times, your expertise on the subject is remarkable, and our participants will definitely learn a lot from your vast knowledge and experience. I heartily welcome you, sir, on behalf of Jagran Lake City University and Faculty of Law, faculty members, participants, students. I also take this opportunity to welcome our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sandeep Rastari, sir. His unwavering support at every juncture of our academic journey is a great source of inspiration for us and for the entire team of JLU Faculty of Law. I welcome you, sir. Your presence in our events gives us great energy and fills us with confidence. I welcome the organizing team of this certificate course and working force behind the Center, Dr. Kshita Bhattacharya, and course convener, as well as Ms. Vitali Kori, assistant professor and course co-convener, and the entire student body working behind the scene. I congratulate you all on putting together this program successfully. I would also like to welcome our guests who are watching the live feed of this inaugural ceremony and thank them for their support and appreciation every time. I welcome my determined and ambitious team of faculty and staff members who are always there to support each other in achieving new milestones and goals. I extend an advance welcome to the extreme resource persons who are going to join us to impart their valuable knowledge and share keen insights with our learners. I welcome and appreciate the zeal of all my beloved students who joined this ceremony to listen to our chief guest and our Vice-Chancellor, not so early, but quite early in the morning, and that too on a Saturday. And lastly, I extend a warm welcome and humble welcome to our participants, the ardent learners who have opted to pursue this course to enrich their knowledge and expand their horizon in the area. I welcome you all and truly believe that you will get deeper insights into the various concepts of health and medicine law. Once again, welcome to all of you. Basically, we all are believing in a philosophy, never stop doing your best. And this is our motto. That's why we are continuously organizing conferences, FDPs, refresher courses, training programs, workshops. And this is only possible with the due support which we are receiving from the faculty members as well as from the side of the management and higher authorities of the university. I welcome you all once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Over to you, Mitali.
Thank you so much, sir. Now for our special address, I have respected Dr. Sandeep Rastari, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Jagran Lake City University, Bhopal. I would like to introduce him as Dr. Rastari prefers to call himself a teacher by choice, a researcher by training, a trainer by passion, and above all, a lifelong learner. He is passionate about teacher training, and his focus has been on transforming the class from a space of teaching to a zone of learning. Sir, I would request you to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you, Mitali. Respected Surya Prakash ji, my colleague Professor Yogen Srivastav, my other colleagues from the Jagran School of Law, distinguished participants in this certificate course, and my dear students. It's a special honor to be here to be part of this opening of the certificate course on health and medicine law. I have noticed in the last 4.5 months of being in JLU, the diversity of programs that the law school of the university organizes. And I'm so delighted that the health and medicine law program focuses on both physical well-being and mental well-being. I remember when reading ancient texts, the duty of a ruler was said to be ensuring the yoga kshema of people. And I've also always believed that yoga kshema is a combination of physical well-being and mental well-being. And I'm delighted that this conference focuses on this. It's also a special honor to have Professor Surya Prakash on our channel, on our platform today. Dr. Surya Prakash heads a very National University of Law. And just for the benefit of my younger friends, D. Sanjivayya was somebody you all should know about. He was the first Dalit Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. And I happened to read a lot about him when researching on my book on Lal Bahadur Shastri, because he was taken into Lal Bahadur Shastri's cabinet as the Minister for Labor and Employment and did a great job in that portfolio. A very unassuming man, a very simple man who had his degree from the Madras Law College. So it's befitting that we have a law university in Andhra Pradesh, which is named after him. Sadly, he died at a very young age of 51. And in that small span of time, he was able to contribute so much to society. So Surya Prakash sir, we are truly honored to have you, somebody who is heading a university which is named after such a stalwart, I would say, about whom I wish much more is known. I do hope at your university there would be also research happening on D. Sanjivayya Garu himself, and that would be a very, very great tribute to him. Let me just make 2-3 points which I thought I would make as part of this health and medicine law certificate course. Nowadays, when we ask somebody, how are you, or is all okay, we are not just talking about their physical health. Today, we are talking of their mental health. In this pandemic, when I ask somebody, how are you, I am concerned about their physical well-being. I am much more concerned about their mental health. And I do hope this health and medicine law certificate course will address that aspect also. In fact, today, when we talk of first aid at the time of a crisis, when we talk of a first aid during a disaster, a new concept in first aid is coming up, which is called psychological first aid. How victims may not just suffer physical injury, victims may not just suffer certain physical challenges. The challenges could be much deeper. The challenges could be more about the mind. And in fact, at Jagran Lake City University, in a week's time, we are starting a major counseling center, which will focus on this psychological first aid, which people need. A last point for the consideration of Yogenji and Surya Prakash Garu is this. When we talk of legal frameworks for mental health, sadly, today what is happening is everybody is today claiming to be a mental health professional. Somebody does a 8-hour certificate course, they call themselves a mental health professional. Now, should we not have certain more stricter yardsticks? Because we are playing with this whole process of supporting and providing counseling aid to people. So I would encourage the certificate course also to look at how do we make sure that the regulatory and legal framework make sure that society has the right benefits in order to ensure health, both physical and mental. In terms of physical, I think we have sufficient yardsticks and norms in place, though of course much more could be done with regard to their implementation. But I'm not too sure whether the same can be said about mental health. And I do hope that this certificate course will raise awareness, will raise emphasis, and would raise the realization that we need to do a lot in this. I believe the 21st century will be a century which will see much more of psychological and mental challenges rather than physical challenges or along with physical challenges. And I see this workshop and the certificate course as an appropriate time to be able to dialogue this. On behalf of Jagran Lake City University, I welcome everybody. On behalf of Jagran Lake City University, I do hope you have a wonderful learning. And once again, thank you, Surya Prakash sir, for being here. We are honored with your presence. And I too, like Dr. Yogen Srivastav, am looking forward to your inaugural lectures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Moving ahead, I would like to introduce our guest of honor, respected Professor Dr. S. Surya Prakash, Vice-Chancellor Damodaram, Sanjivayya, National Law University, Visakhapatnam. He had He had 30 years experience in academics and worked as a lecturer, principal, DNR College of Law, Bhimvaram, AP, faculty member of NUJS, Calcutta, and principal, Law College, Nanad, Maharashtra, before joining in NLIU Bhopal. He obtained his BL from Acharya Nagarjuna University, Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, and Master of Law from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, with first class in the area of labor and industrial law. He was also awarded the University Prize VN Deketulu Award for securing highest marks in the branch of labor law. Later, he was also awarded PhD in the law from Berhampur University, Odisha. Professor Surya Prakash is a prolific writer and wrote on several contemporary issues. He wrote 25 articles on various subjects, including bonded labor, child labor, trade unions, sexual harassment of women at workplace, Indian judiciary, plea bargaining, mediation, international commercial arbitration, human rights in reputed law journals. He presented more than 30 research papers in various national and international seminars and conferences. He also did project for DFID GBT on interstate migrant labor in 2007, involved in report writing of project on access to justice in 2009 for the High Court of Madhya Pradesh. Professor Surya Prakash prepared the manual on health law in 2008 and compendium on agriculture and allied laws in 2009 for the state of Madhya Pradesh. He is the founder editor of Indian Law Review Journal of NLIU Bhopal. Professor Surya Prakash was invited by the State Department USA under the auspice of International Visitor Leadership Program IVLP to study US judicial system in 2010. The visit provides insight into US judicial system, including judicial training at Federal Judicial System, Washington, Michigan State Judicial Center, Lansing, and also the legal education in USA. At present, he is the chairperson of the Center of Business and Commercial Law and the faculty in charge of ADR cell of NLIU Bhopal. His area of interest include jurisprudence, ADR, international commercial arbitration, labor law, business law, and health law. Sir, I would like you to say some words.
Okay. Good morning to all, and thank you very much for the generous introduction and by my dear colleague Dr. Yogen Srivastav and also Professor Sandeep Rastari. It seems that Shastriji has learned about Sri Damodaram Sanjivayya, and one more aspect about Sri Damodaram Sanjivayya ji, the first Dalit Chief Minister in India, and he was and he is still today considered as a personification of honesty and integrity. So, a small instance won't be out of context because such exemplary personalities, we should learn about their lives. So when his name was considered for the chief ministership of the state of Andhra Pradesh, as usually there were complaints that this man is very dishonest, he's corrupt, and so on and so forth. So the then Prime Minister, he sent a team, like an investigating officer. I think that at that point of time, the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, he visited Hyderabad to look into the allegations. So along with a young Congress leader, the central investigating officer, the congressman, senior Congress leader, he went to the village near Kurnool. So the car was stopped at a small thatched hut, and an old woman, she was cooking food with firewood. And the central observer asked, look, why you stopped the car here? the young congressman. Later, he became MLC and chairman of the Legislative Council of Andhra Pradesh. So he said that, sir, this is the house of Sri Damodaram Sanjivayya. The central observer, taken aback, said, what is this? He said that he is a multimillionaire and billionaire. And who is this old woman? And he said, his mother. So the mother of Dr. Sanjivayya ji, she was working with fire, she was cooking food with firewood. And the central observer went and with the help of translator said that your son is going to be elevated as chief minister. Then the mother, the old woman said, would there be any hike in the salary? If there is a hike in the salary, please ask my son to purchase a oven, a charcoal oven. So at this age, it is becoming very difficult for me to cook food with firewood. So in those days, the charcoal oven, it cost something around 3 or 5 rupees maximum. So that was the honesty, and which doesn't require any more explanation. So then the central observer said that there is no need in a city to further inquiry, and he returned back, and later on, Damodaram Sanjivayya ji, who was elevated as the chief minister of the state of Andhra Pradesh. So as Shastri ji said, in spite of his great work, he passed away at an early age. And there are so many activities during his short tenure as chief minister of Andhra Pradesh. And one such thing is that every village should have some common land for grazing the cattle, for evening, to spend evenings. This common land should be for community purpose. So he has also had in his mind the health, and he has brought so many reforms, particularly for the working class, the old age pensions, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I am very fortunate to work as Vice-Chancellor of a university which is named after him. And coming back to today's topic, and I congratulate the Jagran Lake City University, and I know Sri Harimohan Gupta ji personally, and he's a man with vision, and always he encourages any program that will contribute not only in academics but also to the society at large. And I congratulate Shastri ji and my friend Yogen. We call him Yogen instead of calling full name Professor Dr. Yogen Kumar Srivastava, so because he is my good friend. For starting this is an area which was neglected very much. And I had excuse me for today because in my home, yesterday there was a little rain in Visakhapatnam. There's a lot of humidity, and I have no luxury of AC in my room because I'm trying to shift to the university campus. It's a lot of sultry, and so much sweat is coming. Unlike Bhopal weather, Bhopal is having very beautiful weather. I enjoyed, and I will be back to Bhopal to enjoy again because here I am only under pressure. So I worked on this area, health law, and unfortunately, many of the laws in this area, and my experience when I was compiling these health laws for the Department of Health, Government of Madhya Pradesh, and some of the administrators, not only in MP, not aware. For example, there is one beautiful MP Public Health Act. It's a very good act, and we should congratulate. Only very few states have passed such public health acts. and on northeastern state, MP, and couple of states. And even though right from the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 or something like that, even though it is the story of health loss goes back with more than 150 years or so, but the area of health and health law is very much neglected in the curriculum of LLB or LLM. Until today, we do not have a course of LLM in health law, a course of LLM post-graduation in health law, except one paper, law and medicine. But as such, in Bhopal, when I was there, we introduced a course in health law. So, but from all these things, today we have been witnessing this pandemic, and a lot of material is every day coming. And if we look into this pandemic, not only today, and there was swine flu and SARS and Ebola and Spanish flu 100 years back, and infectious diseases is the leading cause of mortality in the world, not only today, but every year. For the more than 50 million human beings that die every year, almost 17 million, in spite of this today's pandemic, they are dying due to infectious diseases. And the most of these deaths, they are occurring in the developing nations or developing countries, where poor insanitary living conditions are widespread, and there is limited access to proper nutrition, vaccination programs, and effective antibodies. So please remember, because today's talk revolves around this antibodies and immunity. However, infectious diseases continue to exert major toll in the countries where these safeguards, they are in place, even like the developed countries like UK, USA, and but there the nature of infectious diseases, they are different, like respiratory infections or pneumonia or influenza. And influenza is the seventh leading cause of death. And that means pandemics, they are not unknown to the humanity. And today, because of this new pandemic, so all over the world, today mankind is at war. Humanity is in peril, and economies are in crisis. For the vaccination and what you may call this COVID-19 pandemic or Wuhan virus. And I'm not here to discuss the origin and numbers, scary pictures or numbers. Today, what's happening? The media, I don't say that the media is irresponsible, but the kind of pictures that are projected, the negative news that is projected, of course, pandemic itself is negative in terms of health, and the kind of pictures, the kind of news, the kind of funerals, and all these things, they are having a great negative impact on the minds of the readers, on the minds of those who watch TV channels, in WhatsApp, in social media, other Facebook, etc., etc. And by constantly projecting this large number of deaths, and what's happening, they are having a negative impact. And even today's newspaper carry an item that 3 people in AP, they died. They committed suicide due to fear because they are affected with the COVID-19. So this fear psychosis is causing enormously, and this has been making people to distress, and ultimately it is reducing their immunity levels. So though I'm not directly banned from the field of medicine, and if we observe the definition of health, as Professor Shastri has rightly said, that mostly we pay much attention to the physical health and not paying much attention to the mental health. But what is health? According to the definition of WHO, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. So, a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So, health doesn't mean absence of disease or infirmity, but it is a complete well-being of social, physical, mental, and social well-being. So this was the bibliographic citation, and this is what is there in the preamble of WHO, adopted by the International Health Conference in 1946 and entered into the came into force from April 7th, 1948. So it is very much clear that mental health is equally important for along with the physical health. So COVID patients who are susceptible to mental illness due to negative images in the print media, electronic media, social media, as I said. So the information received through these senses have a tremendous impact on mind and heart, and which is contributing negatively in the reduction of immunity. So immunity levels play a very, very important in the protection of the physical health of a human being. So when coming back to this mental health, because today I decided to speak a little bit about mental health, and earlier we have the Mental Health Act 1987, and today we have the Mental Health Care Act 2017, and the act provides, this is an act to provide for mental health care and services for persons with mental illness, and to protect, promote, and fulfill the rights of such persons. So this is the act is intended to protect, promote, and fulfill the rights of those who suffer with any kind of mental illness during the delivery of mental health care and services. And for this purpose, that is exclusively to protect the mental health of the citizens, there is an act in place. And to what extent the act is implemented, that's a different story. And here we have to understand that whenever we think about mental health or mental hospital, means what comes to our mind is that a madman, an unsound mind person, and who doesn't have any control on his words, deeds, etc., etc. That is, and also visiting to a psychiatrist or consulting a psychologist is considered a stigma in the society. Because if someone says that I'm having some mental illness or some mental disease, immediately people starts maintaining distance with him, the social distance with such a mentally ill person. And in all cases, it is not necessary that the person he should lose all his mental imbalance and should not know what he was doing, whether it is right or wrong. And such stage is not necessary in the case of, in every case of mental illness, even depression, even anxiety neurosis. And there are several other mental illness diseases, which, and at least 6 or 7 persons out of 10 suffer with some kind of mental illness at one time or the other. And many of us even doesn't know. Even depression is also a mental illness. So, but here, there is a statutory definition for the for mental illness. What is mental illness according to this act? That is the Mental Health Care Act 2017. So the statutory definition says that section 2 is mental illness means substantial disorder of thinking. Suppose if someone has committed suicide due to the fear of COVID-19, definitely there is a disorder of thinking, Mental illness means substantial disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory that grossly impairs judgment. That is the rationality. Grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize reality, or ability to meet ordinary demands of life. Mental conditions associated with abuse of alcohol and drugs, but does not include mental retardation, which is a condition of arrested or incomplete development mind of a person. So here we have a very detailed definition of mental illness. What is this is the statutory. So our focus here should be substantial disorder of thinking, mood, and perception. So how do we perceive things with our sensory perceptions? What we hear, what we taste, what we look at, or memory that grossly impairs judgment, grossly impairs the rationality, the judgment, the behavior, capacity to recognize the reality, and ability to meet the demands of ordinary life. So this and also the act, it flows on saying what is the mental health care system and how these mental health care systems have to be established in by the government, by the private, etc., etc. So here, with this, what we would understand is that mental health care is equally important with physical health care. And in this context, when we are speaking about mental health, if someone is impaired with his judgment, rationality, etc., etc., then his acts won't be in consonance with normal behavior. Just as I said, that today's newspaper, not only today, for so many days we have been watching the news in the media that pandemic is one thing, and no doubt there is a crisis because what happened, pandemics, infectious diseases, they are not uncommon. What is uncommon is that we are not prepared. Why we are not prepared? Because we didn't expect the proportionality with which this coronavirus will spread. The second wave in India is credible, is stressing the system because our medical system, our doctors, our nurses, our so-called frontline workers, including the sanitary workers, our system is meant for a particular number. And because the number of COVID cases are coming, increasing enormously every day, the system is under pressure. And even the frontline workers, all these categories of workers, doctors, nurses, etc., etc., all these are under pressure. And because of misinformation, and I say that while the government is providing the necessary information, and some unscrupulous, half-educated people, they have been putting so many remedies, they are putting so many varieties of treatment for COVID-19 on the social media and in the news. So today, the society is very much confused. What is the best treatment? And I consider and I suggest that only to follow either WHO guidelines or the government of India or the state guidelines, and not to trust any other mode of treatment or guidelines which come in the WhatsApp or this YouTube. There are so many kinds of treatments are coming. So here what's happening today, that everyone is under stress. Particularly patients have been unable to access care because hospitals are overwhelmed, hospitals are overcrowded, and projecting this overcrowd and unavailability of beds, unavailability of oxygen, people dying. So all this, there has been lack of medicines, equipment, ventilators, even hospital beds. All this has been spreading. Of course, there is truth to some extent, but causing anxiety. Suppose if I am affected, what will happen to me? I won't get bed, I won't get remdesivir, I don't get oxygen, I won't get ventilator. And this has been creeping in the minds of the people and causing a lot of stress and distress. And COVID took the world by surprise. It is not only India, even including the developed nation like America, it was taken by surprise last year, particularly the city of New York and so many Indians. And governments are not prepared. Governments, they're not prepared for this, nor the public. We are not expected. Today we have closed down the university, and I'm sitting at home, and online classes are going on, and things are happening. But all this has been a surprise. This including underestimating the problem. So no doubt, because we didn't have the experience in our generation, as we didn't have the experience, we have underestimated the problem. So this COVID has thrown a challenge to the mankind and to every nation. So we have to face it with reality. So when we have to face it with reality, we have to understand the reality, and we have to take the things in our own stride. So in a positive way, So the well-known cardiologist, Dr. Srinath Reddy, today he was discussing in an article in the Indian Express. So because today the viruses, there have been mutation of the virus, and how this is happening. To quote Dr. Srinath Reddy, it is well known that viruses mutate. It is in their nature to do so, because mutation of virus, it is the basic structure of the virus in legal language. Because of evolutionary biology, the virus will mutate. If they have to survive as a species, there are two conditions. They should find ways to become more ineffective while escaping the effect of host immunity. So, because when we are speaking about health, the immunity in the context of physical immunity as well as mental immunity. So how the immunity is connected, both physical and mental, that I will come. They should also not completely wipe out the host, and lest their own species goes extinct. So there is a trade-off between ineffectivity and virulence based on how much of the host population is available to the virus at any time. So the impact of virus and its mutation depends on the immunity. This is the crux of this statement. Further, he went on saying that the virus also needs time to experiment with its mutations while in the human body. The longer it can stay, greater the opportunity. So if the virus stays in the body for a longer time, there is more possibility of more mutation. The longer it can stay, greater the opportunity. Some of the earlier mutations of SARS-CoV-2. So the COVID is also belong to the family of SARS, are thought to have arisen in immunosuppressed people. Immunosuppressed, that is, to whom the immunity is suppressed, people in whom it lingered long. So for the people to whom the immunity is suppressed long, it will stay for a long time. Young people who have overcome the virus fast with their strong immunity will not give virus the luxury to mutate. So the young people who have the strong immunity levels, the virus won't mutate. It won't have the luxury to mutate. While elderly people, debilitated person, people on whom prolonged ventilation provide a long period for mutation. So here what Dr. Srinath Reddy, he makes it clear that the virus survives, the virus will mutate in those bodies where there is a weak immunity system. Of course, this is very much clear, and here I would like to put the things more clear, because how the mental health will have an impact, both positive and negative impact on this immunity system. So, mental health issues, intervention of COVID-19 pandemic. So, mental health issues to the people. So, the major health issues that have been reported to have been with COVID-19 pandemic are stress, anxiety, depressive symptoms. So all these are cases of mental illness, insomnia, denial of anger, fear. So stress, anxiety, and depression go hand in hand with the COVID-19 pandemic. And there are so many studies which say that this not only the actually the COVID patients, but also the frontline workers, including doctors, nurses, community health workers, and all these are coming under stress, as well as children and older people, because of their lesser immunity levels. They are also coming under because of the stress and strain. So, what I would like to hear specifically say that why rest is one of the most important elements. How the defensive systems for this virus, the mounting these defensive responses was a significant metabolic demands. For example, raise its core body temperature 1 degree Celsius, and organism needs to increase the metabolism by 12%. So how do we increase our immunity levels? Spending more time sleeping and withdrawing from activities. So doctors, they used to say that take more rest, take more rest. So why more rest? The rest is metabolism will increase and avoids the contact with pathogens. Pathogens means the bacteria, the virus, the worms that will cause diseases. All this, there are some 4 or 5 categories of viruses, bacteria, and all these are called pathogens and predators. So, in order to escape from these pathogens, the only remedy, apart from medical treatment, is to enhance the immunity levels. So, is there any relation between immunity and the mind, or how can we promote and protect our mental health? So, to provide necessary basics of understanding interaction between behavior and immune function. So, the behavior and immune functions we have to understand before understanding the mental health. The major thought is that the specific immune response to an invading pathogen means virus, bacteria, etc., is a process that extends over many days and requires complex coordination between many different types of cells that have to interact with each other in very circumscribed way. The dynamic process over time, not a discrete punctuate response. So in fact, this word immunity, or the immune system so-called, is derived from the Latin word immunis, meaning exempt, and is the body's defense against invading pathogen microorganisms. So when once the immunity level increases, the immunity is at a proper stage, proper levels. So it will cause a good defense and exemption from the this invading bacteria or viruses, etc., etc. So innate immunity. So innate means inherent. Innate immunity mechanisms operate as a first defense against invading pathogens. So now, what is the connection between mind and the disease via immunity? How the immunity will, that is the mental condition, will play a positive and negative role in controlling the diseases. So the whole is, for example, just you remember Munabhai MBBS. So the sum and substance of the message of the movie, it is psychological medicine. So giving, boosting the morale of the patients by hugs and by physical touches, and the purpose is to boost up the positive attitude in the patient. So we have, though we do not, in India, we have psychology and psychiatry, the psychological medicine or the psychiatry. And even in psychiatry, there is another specialization which wholly speaks about the proximate relationship between the mental or the immunity and impact of this mental illness on the immunity system, on the immunity. That is a specialized subject which is developing recently in the sense that for the last 30-40 years, that is psychoneuroimmunology. That is our psychological stress, our stress, strain, anxiety, and all other mental illness. As I said, that mental illness doesn't mean that one should join in the mental hospital. So any deep negative impact on the mind, which disturbs the normal functioning of the mind, and thereby it will have a direct impact on the nervous system, and thereby the immunity levels will go down. When the immunity levels in the body reduces, that will give a way. So for what, there are a number of papers, a lot of literature. There is a proximate relation between the immunity and the disease. Of course, immunity levels do develop with physical diet, no doubt. One may eat half kg of dry fruits morning and evening. Definitely, dry fruits and other medicines and other nutritious diet prescribed by the specialist, which will increase the physical immunity, no doubt. But if someone is worried about in his surmising or imagining the negative impacts, always thinking about negative, that is negative behavior, and this increasing of this what we call dry fruits, and this won't help the person from this. That is, the holistic approach is needed in the treatment. That is what I would like to. Holistic approaches in healthcare hold promise for positive outcomes when the body-mind model is embraced. So this body-mind model is, that is, the treatment is necessary not only for the physical, but also for the mental well-being. Mental well-being. So the concept of mind-body connection may be first attributed to Florence Nightingale. Day before yesterday, we celebrated this Nurses Day. So this body-mind model, it has its origins from the Florence Nightingale, who wrote in her notes on nursing in 1862 about the healing power of sensory stimulation and personal connection. So it is she who has, for the first time in her diary, noted that in 1862, that is the sensory healing or personal connection, and the new from this this is the genesis, and the species is PNI. The new discipline evolved from this type of thinking is referred to as psychoneuroimmunology. So there is the growing field of psychoneuroimmunology was established by scientists who were interested in gaining better understanding of interrelationship between the mind and body. The interrelationship between the mind and body. Psychoneuroimmunologists have contributed greatly to the medical science, showing that the stress and emotional state of an individual may play a significant role in making vulnerable to the diseases. So this shows that the negative emotions, uh, distress or depression. So all these negative attitudes on the human being on the mental stress will have direct impact on the nervous system, and the body will be exposed and invite these diseases, particularly the infectious diseases. The body will become vulnerable to these diseases. The scientists, they have discovered that stress modules the activities of body systems, adversely affecting their functioning to maintain health. So this adverse thought process, so this negative mental process, it will adversely affect the person's health. They have helped practitioners see the mind-body connection in sickness, where the mind and body communicate with each other by interactions of the endocrine, nervous, and immune systems. So the interaction between body and mind is very much there inside the human being, and which was there are a lot of studies and surveys conducted, clinical studies were conducted. They have presented a new view that disease may actually be a form of stress with physical as well as psychological aspects. So the physical as well as psychological aspects both contribute for the disease, either for the reduction of the disease or for the enhancement of the disease. Further, the psychoimmunologists postulate that stress may increase the probability of contracting the diseases such as cancers, coronary disease, and some autoimmune diseases like infectious diseases like corona-19. And it is important for medical practitioners, nurses, and social workers to understand the effect of stress in the complex process of to underlie health in order to protect the health and proper treatment for any disease for that matter, not only to the COVID-19, both physical treatment and also mental behavior of the subject both are more important. To say certain life experiences may be very stressful, such as loss of a child, loss of a spouse, divorce, loss in the business, loss in the game, that is in the sports, etc. However, any stressor will stimulate and elevate enzymes in the adrenal glands to produce major stress hormones, which are epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenal corticoids. So these hormones are responsible for activating biochemical changes in the nervous, endocrine, and immune systems, which affect all organ systems. So now it is a proved fact with so many studies that the immunity levels has directly related to the mental condition. When I'm saying that our mental illness, the stress and strain. So coronary psychologists stressors known as trigger immune. So the immunity system is having directly connected to the mental health system, which is directly related to the mental behavior. So there are many studies, and it is now proved by the doctors, medical experts, scientists that the subject of psychoneuroimmunology is a realistic medical science, so whereby the immunity levels will contribute either positively or negatively in inviting the invaders on health. The invaders on health, such as viruses, bacteria, etc., etc. So now, during this pandemic 19, the doctors, the nursing homes, no doubt, all the nursing homes, doctors, they are under very much stress. But the submission here is that there should be some program for mental relief of the patients. Maybe something like music, soothing music, and encouraging words by the doctors, nurses, and also the media also should take the responsibility to project the positive programs. So instead of always showing the funeral fires and 20 members or 8 members, they were stuffed in the ambulance. See, there is no respect for the death, etc., etc. And these things are happening. But the media should come up with some positive news. See here, 90-year-old woman or a 102-year-old man, they have come up with winning the COVID-19. And if you are happy, if you are joyful, if you have the positive attitude, you can win the COVID-19. So because every day we have been watching, people are dying out of fear, COVID-19. So when once this fear psychosis is kept at bay by the doctors, nurses, etc., definitely there will be a positive impact in improving the health of the patients. So till yesterday I have taught the criminal law. That's the reason why the word accused has come. The subject, that is the patients. So the sum and substance is that under psychoneuroimmunology, it is proved that there is a direct relation between the positive frame of mind with the immunity of the human being. So in order to enhance the immunity, apart from the medical treatment, a treatment is necessary to the mind of the patient. That is, to improve the positive attitude, positive behavior. It is the duty, and I request this doctors, or particularly the IMA, which is coming with so many guidelines. There should be some specific program, even for the family members at home. Because if someone in isolation is barred from touching, he is barred from speaking, and apart from following the protocol, the family members, they should speak to the patient by giving the encouraging words, and also the neighbors. It is no doubt social distance has to be maintained and the protocol has to be followed. Apart from this, there should be some communication, if not physically, through telephone, and putting some encouraging words. Don't worry, there are a lot of medicine, vaccination, and it is worrisome that even those who have double dose of vaccination, they're also coming under this COVID-19 infected with the virus. So there is the need of the hour is to develop the positive frame of mind in the patients, for which everyone has to do their piece of contribution. That is right from the family members, then the society at large, the media, and above all, the doctors and nurses. By constantly encouraging with a positive note, and no doubt the doctors and the nurses, they are under very, very, very severe stress in the hospitals. But in spite of this, if we could contribute positively for the positive frame of mind in the patients, undoubtedly, India and with the people of India can, yes, we accepted the challenge, and undoubtedly we can win over this COVID pandemic 19 or the Wuhan virus. So even though there is a lot of information to share with, I think that I have taken much time. Just this is an overview of mental health vis-a-vis the COVID patients. And here I would like to stop, and thank you very much for Jharkhand Lake City University to put forward my views on this COVID pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Michael.
It's a
Okay,
great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first start by giving glory to the Almighty God. I, Mitali Kori, Assistant Professor, JLU, School of Law, Jagran Lake City University, feels truly honored and privileged to propose the vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion of beginning of a mega event of online certificate course on health and medicine law. First and foremost, I would like to thank respected Professor Dr. Surya Prakash, Vice-Chancellor Damodaram, Sanjivayya, National Law University, Visakhapatnam, for being with us and inaugurating the online certificate course on health and medicine law by taking his time out amidst his busy schedule. His address has set the tone of this course. Sir, we are highly honored and extremely happy with your gracious presence. I convey my heartfelt thanks to Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Jagran Lake City University, respected Professor Dr. Sandeep Rastari, who is a source of inspiration and motivation with his vast knowledge and acumen. Sir, I sincerely acknowledge the unwavering support received from you. I'm extremely thankful for our registrar, respected Professor Dr. Vivek Khare, for the help given by him for the smooth conduct of this event. At this point, I'm also thankful to respected Professor Dr. Yogendra Srivastav, Dean, JLU School of Law, for the initiatives and relentless working along with the team JLU School of Law. I also wish to record our sincere appreciation for support receiving from all the directors, faculty, and staff members of the university. Above all, I would like to thank the participants for their active and patient participation. Last but not the least, I express my sincere thanks to all my colleagues and the members of the organizing committee for their consistent effort in organizing this function. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheel starts rolling month in advance. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by the team of very motivated and dedicated student committee and volunteers. I thank all the distinguished guests present here for accepting our invitation. I thank the members of the media for evincing interest in covering the event and all good hearts who have worked behind the screen. To conclude, let me once again thank, give my great gratitude to all. I request all of you to come and join hands to make this event a great success. Once again, thank you all for your cooperation and support.
Request all of you.
Thank
Before
you.
moving ahead, can we have a group photograph? Can you all please switch on your video camera so that we can have a group photograph? Thank you, all of you.